Pull up, grab the fuel nozzle, and get ready to fuel up on trends and strategies to grow your travel center business in this episode of The Truck Stops Here, brought to you by NATSO. Now, here's your host, Amy Toner.
Hello, and welcome to today's episode of The Truck Stops Here. I'm your host, Amy Toner. You are listening to NATSO's podcast, Truck Stops Here. NATSO is the National Trade Association for Truck Stops, and our mission is to advance the success of truck stops, travel centers, and this podcast is just one of the many ways that we do that. Today, we are joined by new NATSO board member, Matt Mildenberger. Matt serves as the president and CEO of Mittens. Hi, Matt.
Hello.
Can you start by just telling us about Mittens?
Yeah, it's a full-service travel center. We're a franchise of Travel Centers of America. Been in the truck stop business in my family for about 55 years. I'm third generation. Again, it's full service. We have gasoline, diesel, farm fuel. We have a Subway. We have a Sonic. We have an IHOP. We have a Blue Beacon truck wash. We have a full lube center. We have a truck service center. We have our own transport company where we haul fuel around to jobbers and what have you. We just opened a walk-in urgent care clinic in our facility. That's pretty much what we are and what we do.
So the urgent care just opened?
Yeah, we have about 18 months under our belt now. So,
is it mostly for drivers or is it for the community?
Both.
Or your staff too, I guess.
Yep, anyone.
Awesome.
And used by all of the above.
When I was looking at your bio, it said that in your current position for the last 15 years, you went from 20 million to 80 million dollar operation. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, tell me what happened. What was the big difference?
Well, it's just we've just been on such a big growth pattern. Whether it be, we built the Sonic, built a hotel, we built, added the restaurant, franchised with IHOP, brought the Blue Beacon over to our facility and built a new Blue Beacon. Have added 10 transport trucks to our operation. Have just hired several young leaders and trying to just continually grow the business and cut a wider path.
I feel like when Darren talks about you guys, he talks about your commitment to having the right staff structure, like investing in managers and operator, or like people to run things. Is that part of your strategy?
Yeah, I mean, if there was anything I thought I was good at, it was being able to spot talent, if you will, and seek out talent, especially when there's youth involved too, when there's somebody that's my age or used to be a little bit older, but now it's starting to be a little bit younger, but being able to spot some of that talent and the ability and trying to figure out how to make them fit in our operation. And we've gotten pretty creative and hired a handful of people that play a fairly significant role that, weren't doing that role when we hired them. For instance, we just hired a guy about a year ago that is going to be an incredible fuel and oil department guy. He's great in the back of our office, selling fuel, selling oil, dealing with our back of the house accounting system and software. And he was a graduate from our town, went to college and went to work for Enterprise Rental Car for 13 years. So, and then, tired of the city and come back, and he, doesn't do anything today that he studied in college or did the last 13 years for Enterprise, but a great amount of talent and catching on and, just hungry to learn and be a part of it. And just things like that make us better, I guess.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know one of my questions is what makes you unique. Do you feel like it's your employees, or tell me what makes you unique?
Yeah, it's hard to be unique this day and age in our industry because it's no secret there's a lot of people doing what we do, and that's where the success lies. So to be unique is just try to be better or try to everybody's, whether it be put an urgent care clinic upstairs or have a, Blue Beacon or a hotel or a restaurant or two or scale or whatever, it's really not unique because it's the business we're in. But if you can just do it a little better and try to be a standout in the industry, then I think that is about the most unique stuff you can come by. We've tried to build our own brand that maybe couldn't be duplicated by instilling what we call the Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center. Came from, I've grown up hunting my whole life, big game and taxidermy, and having a bunch of deer heads on the wall and running out of room, and ended up taking them to the travel center and start hanging them up. And now we have 18 or 20 different species hanging on the wall upstairs in the truck stop. We have geese hanging from the ceiling and fishing string, and it's kind of a neat deal, whether it be the kids or just anybody comes in and see the art on the walls and hanging from the ceiling and things like that. So in that scenario, we've kind of tried to build ourselves unique and something that can't be recreated.
We're all looking for something unique, right? We're all looking to see something different. So I think that sounds awesome. I was going to ask you, do you feel like the pandemic has changed your business?
Sure. It's definitely changed the dynamic of the world we live in, all of us. The people aspect is probably the biggest thing. I think we all learned a lot when America shut down and we went a few months and we couldn't generate that revenue, but yet the lights had to still be on and the bills kept coming in, and we all had a sobering moment, if you will, just what was happening with our industry. And I think it really got us involved in really sitting back and thinking about, how can we be better? How can we be more efficient? How can we more future-proof ourselves so that the next time something like this happens, we can be better? And the one thing that, and I talked earlier about finding young talent, and sometimes that means overpaying and over-benefiting some of those employees. But I did find that your entry-level employees are the ones that really, whether it be didn't show up or didn't come back or are hard to come by or don't exist sometimes, those higher-paid employees seem to be more in the game, and we have enough of those and enough tenure that we didn't have as much problems with that type of employee as we did with the I don't want to say the traditional truck stop or restaurant employee, but when you start dealing with the minimum wage employees and entry level employees, those are the ones that seem to be come and go more than come in the last year. So I think that has really helped us, just having a bigger percentage of higher paid, longer term employees throughout our entire business.
That's something you plan to keep doing?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. What's the future investments? What are you looking at adding or changing, or in the next, I'm thinking 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, trying to build an office complex. Currently we have 6 or 7 offices in our facility, and we've outgrown them. We've about got 2 people in every office, so we're going to go off-site and build an office across the street from the travel center, and then be able to remodel the current offices and add retail space in the current travel center now.
Okay.
We also purchased a hotel across the street from the travel center, and recently have demolished that. Plan on somehow either an additional travel center or in addition to this current travel center. Spending a lot of time trying to come up with some unique ideas about how to best make use of that property.
Sounds exciting. Are you going to add, with the new retail space that you're opening up in your current building, are you adding more food, or do you know what you're going to do?
There'll probably be a combination of retail and food area.
Okay. What about outside? Any alternative fuels plans?
We currently do blend bio 6 months a year in the warmer months, but we just kind of manage it ourselves in the bulk plant. And when we come to the truck stop from the rack with a load of fuel, we've got an empty compartment. We'll go grab a compartment of bio and blend it down into the ground.
You're a new NATSO Board member. Why did you decide to join NATSO's board?
I've been involved with NATSO for probably 20 years, since I was even still in high school, and I've probably been to 18 of the last 20 conventions. I've always been fond of NATSO over a lot of other organizations. I always thought it was small enough to be personal, big but not big enough to get lost and be something that you didn't know what you were into, or nobody knew that you were into it. Early on, there was a handful of us together that were part of the Future Leaders program in NATSO, and one of our big things there were some of us younger members, back when we were younger members, were when we came to the events, we wanted to feel like we were part of it. And one of the big things for NATSO with me is networking. Yeah. And it's hard sometimes when you're in your mid-20s or early 30s and you come in to all these veterans in their 50s and 60s. And it really feels good when those people acknowledge the younger people, even though we don't know what they know and we haven't done what they've done. We're still in the industry and we're still part of it. And, there's been a handful of unique older individuals that have showed me respect and showed me, just acknowledgement, if anything. And I think that's really important, and what that feels like to me. And I think that's what makes NATSO good. And I think that we need to continue to make NATSO that, because before long, none of us will be here, and the next generation will be here. And if you don't let the next generation feel comfortable and desire to come to the NATSO show and be a part of it, and no matter if you have one store or 500 stores, we're all basically on the same level when it comes to intellectually or what have you.
Okay, so I'm going to leave you with we have some surprise fun questions at the end. But before we get to those, the last one's the hard one. What is important to you to achieve as a leader at Mittens? No pressure.
What's important to me to achieve as a leader is to get other people in my organization that I've been grooming, whether I've just hired them or they've been with us for 30 years, whether young or old. It's to my success when we all share the same values. And when people start acting like me and acting like the core group that run the company, when they all start showing the same values and in the operation and for our employees and doing the things that I've always done and our family's always done, that's just really rewarding. And it makes me feel like that's what the success is. And when one of the things I've always said to a lot of managers is, it's the best way to gauge a manager is how is the operation run when you're not there instead of when you are there. And when it runs just as good when you're not there, it's just a great feeling to be able to leave for a few days on a business trip or vacation or whatever and come back and everything's fine, and you're like, well, what do I need to do to catch up here, and what happened while I was gone, and when everything goes fine and everybody steps up to the plate when they need to, that's very rewarding.
That sounds awesome. And then you can go to NATSO Connect, right?
You're right.
Okay. Before we let you go, I have some fun, just very short, fun questions that I like to surprise people with. We call this our fast fill episode. Okay. So what's your go-to on the road snack?
Peanuts.
Okay. Do you prefer to drive or ride?
Drive.
Okay. How do you take your truck stop coffee?
Black with sweetener.
Okay, and the last one is a controversial, air quotes. Is it truck stop, travel center, or travel plaza?
Travel center.
Travel center. Okay. All right. Thanks, Matt.
You're welcome.
All right. Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Truck Stops Here. You can find us online at www.natso.com/podcast. You can listen to the podcast on Apple, Google, Spotify, and Stitcher. If you have any questions, I hope you'll reach out to me at editor@natso.com. Hi, Matt.
Bye. Thank you.
The Truck Stops Here was brought to you by NATSO, the association representing truck stops and travel centers. Visit natso.com for more information. The Truck Stops Here is produced by NATSO in collaboration with Human Factor. Producers are Amy Toner and Darren Schulte.